Racism. It's ugly, it's unneeded, it's futile. But when some people and organisations can't even see they are doing it, then it gets damned irritating. Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada has held a pop festival there for the past 25 years called Halifax Pop Explosion, or HPX if you're a bit of a hipster. This year, one of the invited singers was Colombian Canadian Lido Pimienta, and on October 19th this year, she did indeed attend, and well, this is where things get rather sinister. Turns out Lido has certain requests, and no, it's not that she wants providing with Skittles in a dressing room with all the green ones removed, but she sure does have an issue with colour. At the start of her set, she requested that people of colour move to the front of the room and white people move to the back. Now, if you're a functional human being with a working capacity for small brain training exercises, let's try out the following. Imagine that the colour of the people was reversed. Imagine now that she requested that people of colour move to the back of the room and white people move to the front. Can you see where this is going? Well, obviously you can, because logic. If it's a racist request in the second example, it's clearly still a racist request when Lido Pimienta said it the other way round. But the story takes a turn for even worse. At the front of the audience was a white female volunteer working for the Halifax Pop Explosion. And several times, Lido told the woman to move to the back. Finally, after saying it about 10 times, and the female white volunteer refusing, Pimienta was quoted as saying, "You're cutting into my set time, and you're disrespecting these women, and I don't have time for this." The reason the white female refused to move was because she was a volunteer photographer for the Halifax Pop Explosion. There to take pictures of Lido's set, and I'm guessing that photographers need the freedom to move about and within reason get as close as they need to get decent pictures done. You only have to go onto the Halifax Pop Explosion website to see the plethora of pictures, or their Facebook page to see that it's clearly a thing that photographers need to be able to move about to get their shots. Apparently, though, Lido was more fixated on the female being white than noticing a bloody great camera around her neck, which still went unnoticed as Lido herself removed the white female photographer from the venue. Well, so far it's pretty shit, but believe me, it gets even worse. To the point that it's clear Liberals are losing sight over what racism actually is, for fear of being branded racist. After the event was over, a Georgie Dudka made an announcement on the 26th of October on behalf of the Halifax Pop Explosion directors. And I'm going to read the whole thing out before we go through the inevitable critique of this announcement, because it's comically tragic, and it's sad that an organisation that's been running for over 25 years will issue something like this and think that they're on the side of good. So here we go. Dear attendees, fans, artists, staff, volunteers and folks otherwise involved in the Halifax Pop Explosion. On Thursday, October 19th at the Marquee Club, a white HPX volunteer along with several other white people in the audience reacted to Lido Pimienta inviting brown girls to the front of the venue with overt racism. This volunteer was removed by Lido herself. They have since received notification from the festival that they are no longer welcome to volunteer with us. We will not accept this behaviour, and neither should you. Be responsible for your friends, talk to them and support them as they move towards unpacking their racism. People of colour deserve safe spaces, and it is your responsibility to help. It is also ours. The Halifax Pop Explosion has worked hard in the past year to learn what embracing anti-racism and actively being inclusive of people of colour and, oh Jesus, what the hell does it say? 2SLGBTQ plus folks entails. We take responsibility for missed opportunities to actively support people of colour artists this year and promise to build meaningful infrastructures within our festival through which to better support these communities in the future. Georgie goes on. Halifax Pop Explosion is committed to providing our team with anti-oppression and anti-racism training. Additionally, we will be working with local organisations over the next year to create a list of local resources for our community. We also want to make this list available to those who create unsafe and uncomfortable space at our shows and venues by demonstrating racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny and other discriminatory behaviours, so that they can too begin unpacking, is that word again, their discriminatory behaviour. As a festival, we will also spend the next several months addressing ways we can make our festival spaces safer for women, people of colour, and 2SLGBTQ plus folks. To Lido Pimienta, we are sorry that one of our volunteers interrupted your art, your show, and your audience by being aggressive and racist. We have so much respect for the art and music you create and the space you make for women, people of colour, transgender, and non-binary people. The way you interact with the world acts and provides a thoughtful example. You are a role model to us and many people in our community. We see it, we feel it. We hope you will work with us again. To the people of colour in the audience on Thursday night, we are sorry your night was interrupted and perhaps ruined by one of our volunteers. We are going to try our best as a festival to create ways to make our spaces safer and more accessible for you. We hope we can rebuild some trust and that you will come back to our shows. What a load of bollocks. Seriously, that little lot I just read out could have been condensed into a couple of paragraphs. But when you're an organisation that needs to say something to cover your back because you done fucked up, probably best to get as wordy as humanly possible and make as little sense as possible so that people simply shake their heads and move on. But disseminating that claptrap, we do find some gems which show just what kind of intellect Georgie Dudker and Halifax Pop Explosion is using to justify blatant racism. Number 1. When they said that the volunteer displayed overt racism toward Lido Pimienta, they are referring to her refusal to move. That's right, irrespective of whether or not the volunteer was there to photograph or not, she refused Lido's clearly racist request and was then ejected from the venue for overt racism. So for the liberal sheep watching this who think Lido was right, cast your minds back to December 1st, 1955, and one Rosa Parks who refused to move out of a designated white seat on a bus and was then arrested by police. By Lido's logic and the liberal sheep, Rosa Parks must be guilty of overt racism because she refused to give up a seat that she had paid for. Number 2. They say that they will not accept that kind of behaviour. So, because a white female refused to move because the only reason given was because of the colour of her skin, this is the kind of behaviour that should not be accepted. Presumably, Halifax Pop Explosion must be saying that discrimination based on skin colour must just be accepted, and defending yourself from discrimination is a form of discrimination in of itself. What the fuck? Number 3. Be responsible for your friends. Talk to them and support them as they move towards unpacking their racism. Support them? Is that what Halifax Pop Explosion did when they ejected this racist white female? They go on to say she has been told she isn't welcome to volunteer again. That kind of support wouldn't keep breasts firm. Number 4. People of colour deserve safe spaces. Pretty sure that everyone of every colour or creed has that expectation. But regardless, whilst a racist interaction was occurring, no one did anything to stop it. I don't think the term safe space has any relevancy here. Number 5. Halifax Pop Explosion is committing to providing our team with anti-oppression and anti-racism training. Well, hopefully this won't be performed by an in-house team. After all, Georgie and the directors and Lido Pimienta have at odds views with the rest of society on what constitutes oppression and racism. This announcement of theirs is their calling card to declare they haven't got a clue. Number 6. As a festival, we will also spend the next several months addressing ways we can make our festival spaces safer for women, people of colour, and I actually had to look this up, two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, plus folks. That is just a load of waffle, pretend they're doing something, rather than actually deal with the issue of one of their invited acts acting in a racist manner and then not having the balls to deal with it, hence why they allowed one of their own volunteers who was acting in a capacity for them to be thrown under the bus and be branded a racist herself. Rather hoping she sues might be the only way to ensure Halifax Pop Explosion and Georgie Dudka get that anti-oppression and anti-racism training from a bona fide source. Number 7. To Lido Pimienta, we are sorry that one of our volunteers interrupted your art, your show and your audience by being aggressive and racist. The volunteer didn't. Lido interrupted her own set to tell the white female to move back, and since when was saying no to a racist request first and foremost considered aggressive? The focus shouldn't be on the aggressiveness of the person on the receiving end of the racism, for fuck's sake. In conclusion, Halifax Pop Explosion has a problem. Well, it has several problems. Firstly, they've unjustifiably branded someone a racist and then based their whole announcement on branding that female a racist. If there isn't the likelihood of litigation, I'd be very surprised. Secondly, they wrote a big announcement to tell everyone that they really don't have a clue what racism actually is, because if they did, this would never have happened. Thirdly, that they didn't even know beforehand that this was a Lido Pimienta thing is frankly embarrassing. Most music venues will work closely with artists to ensure any requests are listened to, accommodated where possible, and refused where it's simply not practicable or safe, or in the case of the white female photographer, a form of racism that cannot be condoned or will likely not be viewed by many of the paying public favourably. When you fuck up like this, you don't double down, and you most certainly don't put up a wordy, meandering announcement that wouldn't appease anyone but the most vacuous and stupid. Start looking for a new job, Georgie. There'll be another bus soon, and you'll fit under that one quite nicely. Moron. Please dislike if you really want to. Make a comment, don't make a comment. But I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. It makes all this stuff kind of worthwhile. Bye now.